Hi guys, from today we are going to talk about renal physiology. To understand the renal physiology, we have to understand about the kidney. So in kidney, to understand their function and structure, we have to know what is the kidney made up of. So it is the nephron. For the first session, we are going to talk about the nephron structure and function. So in renal physiology, we are going to talk mainly about kidneys, their function, their structure, how do the kidneys help for homeostasis in our body. So the kidneys are made up of millions of nephrons. It is basically the structural unit of the kidney, structural and functional unit. So nephron, as we talked previously, nephron is the structural and functional unit of the kidney. So the word nephron, it is derived from the Greek word nephron. So it means basically the kidney. And the nephron is the microscopic structure. It is composed of renal corpuscle and the renal tubule. And there are millions of nephrons in each human kidney. So this nephron is a microscopic unit, and there are multiple millions of nephrons form with each other and form this macroscopic kidney. So the nephron, as we tell, the kidney is the one produce urine and the remove waste, but the working man, the nephron is the one actually producing urine in the process, and they remove the waste and excess substances from the blood. So nephrons act with each other and they produce urine. So this is the structure of a nephron. So it is made up of glomerulus. This is the glomerulus. And the proximal convoluted tubule, the lobe of Henle, this is the ascending lobe, and this is the descending lobe, and this is lobe of Henle, and this is distal tubule, collecting duct. So they are the main parts of nephron. So in future slides, we are going to talk about each of these parts. So structure of a nephron. When we take a mammalian nephron, it's like a long tube-like structure. So you can see here, it's like a tube-like structure. So it is about 35 to 65 millimeters long. And at one end, tube is closed and folded and expanded into double wall. So this cup-like structure is called Bowman corpus capsule. This is the Bowman capsule. Okay, this is surrounding the glomerulus. Or we can call it renal corpuscular capsule. So it encloses a cluster of microscopic blood vessels called the glomerulus. So the Bowman capsule, it is enclosed the glomerulus. And this capsule and glomerulus together constitute the renal corpuscle. So this is glomerulus, and surrounding it is the Bowman capsule, and the two structures we call renal corpuscle. So, as we talk, structure of nephron comprises of two major portions. They are renal corpuscle and renal tubule. This part, renal corpuscle and the renal tubule. So the whole unit is nephron. We are going to talk about renal corpuscle. We are going to talk about this structure. So, renal corpuscle consists of a glomerulus. It is surrounded by a Bowman capsule. Glomerulus, it is surrounded by a Bowman capsule. And the glomerulus arises from afferent arteriole and empties into an efferent arteriole. Glomerulus arises from the afferent arteriole and it ends to efferent arteriole. You can see it clearly in this picture. The smaller diameter of an efferent arteriole helps to maintain high blood pressure, and so it increases the hydrostatic pressure in the glomerulus. So glomerulus. This part, the main function of glomerulus is to filter plasma to produce glomerular filtrate, so which passes down the length of nephron tubule to form urine. the glomerular filtrate is produced. So it gets passed down these tubules, and at the end, the urine is produced. Renal tubule. So we are going to talk about the tube-like part. So it is a long and convoluted structure. It emerges from the glomerulus and can be divided into 3 parts based on function. So we can divide into renal tubule into main 3 parts. The proximal part before the Henle loop of Henle, that part is called proximal convoluted tubule. And this part, it is the loop of Henle. That's a loop. And the distal part is called the distal tubule. The first part we saw earlier is proximal convoluted tubule because it is close proximity to the glomerulus and it stays in the renal cortex. And the second part is called loop of Henle on nephritic loop because it forms a loop and it has descending and ascending limbs and they go through renal medulla. And the third part, which is most distant from the glomerulus, is called distal convoluted tubule and it is also restricted to the renal cortex. So the main function of tubule is reabsorption. And this process either can be active transport or passive transport. In addition, secretion by tubules helps in urine formation, and the urine formation happens without affecting the electrolyte balance of the body. So it helps to maintain the homeostasis. So this is the tubule. So the glomerulus, substance from blood are taken from blood vessels into tubule here. Okay, and this is the tubule. And in the tubule, some substances are secreted and some substances are reabsorbed. Proximal convoluted tubule. So at here, maximum reabsorption takes place. And in the reabsorption like essential substances, glucose, proteins, amino acids, and a major portion of electrolytes and water takes place. And proximal convoluted tubule selectively secretes ions such as hydrogen, ammonia, and potassium into filtrate, and it also absorbs bicarbonate from it. Proximal tubule efficiently regulate the pH of the filtrate by exchanging hydrogen ion in the interstitium for bicarbonate ions in the filtrate. And also, proximal convoluted tubule also responsible for secreting organic acid such as creatinine and other bases. Okay. So, proximal convoluted tubule mainly maintains the electrolyte and acid-base balance of the body fluid. So, it secretes some substances, reabsorbs some substances, but it does not affect the electrolyte and acid-base balance of the body. And it maintains the homeostasis. So, the next part is loop of Henle. As we saw previously, it has an ascending and descending loop, being its same parts of the body. So both descending and ascending limb show different permeability. Okay. So descending limb is permeable to water, but it is impermeable to an electrolyte. Okay. While the ascending limb is permeable to electrolytes, but it's impermeable to water. You have to remember these points because they come in MCQs. Okay. Since the electrolyte gets reabsorbed at the ascending loop of Henle, the filtrate gets diluted and it moves toward the ascending loop. But reabsorption is limited in this segment. So the distal convoluted tubule. Similar to proximal convoluted tubule, distal convoluted tubule also secretes such ions such as hydrogen, potassium, ammonia into the filtrate, while reabsorbing bicarbonate from the filtrate. And conditional reabsorption of sodium ions and water takes place in distal convoluted tubule. And also distal convoluted tubule maintain a critical role in variety of homeostasis process. And it also maintains pH and sodium potassium level in blood cells. So the collecting duct, it's a long straight tube. It's the most distant part, and where H plus and potassium ions are secreted, and it helps to maintain the electrolyte balance of the body blood. So this is the region where the maximum reabsorption of water takes place to produce concentrated urine. And the renal collecting tubule collects urine from the nephrons and moves it to renal pelvis and ureter. So at the end, collecting duct, the final product of urine is produced. So that is our basic introduction to nephron structure and physiology. In further sessions, we are going to talk about how the filtration and reabsorption takes place, how the urine produced by step. To understand that process, just in this session, we talk about the structure and function. Okay. So this is a summary. So we talk about millions of nephrons form with each other and form kidney. So this nephron is the structural and functional unit of the kidney. So this whole part is called renal corpuscle. Renal corpuscle is made up of glomerulus and Bowman capsule. So the renal corpuscle generates the glomerular filtrate, but it composed by water, ions, and small molecules. So the most proximal part of the glomerulus, the renal tubule, is called proximal convoluted tubule. It reabsorbs sodium, chloride, potassium, water, glucose, amino acid, these ions, and it secretes ammonium and creatinine. So, the loop of Henle. In descending leg, it reabsorbs water. But the thick ascending legs reabsorb ammonium, sodium, and chloride. And in loop of Henle, it reabsorbs sodium and chloride. In collecting ducts, it reabsorbs sodium, chloride, and water, and it secretes ammonium, hydrogen ions, and potassium. So, this is what happens, what they secrete at each places, and what they reabsorb. So, in the filtrate, substance less than 40 sizes, they pass through glomerular membrane. They have to the exact size to get filtered. Okay. And in proximal convoluted tubule, reabsorption happens in all glucose. 100% of glucose is reabsorbed. Amino acid mostly and salts, and most of the water. So at proximal convoluted tubule, and all glucose, all amino acids are reabsorbed, and most of the salts get reabsorbed, and most of the water. And loop of Henle, some water get reabsorbed. And these sides also some water get reabsorbed. And secretion in proximal convoluted tubule, H plus ammonia, creatinine, duct, and metabolites get secreted. And distal convoluted tubule, hydrogen, potassium, sodium, chloride get secreted. At the end of this secretion and reabsorption, at the collecting metabolic waste, urine, which is composed of urea, creatinine, uric acid, excess water, and so it is produced. For today's session, in next session, we are going to talk about how urine is produced at each of these steps, how the glomerular filtration happens. Okay. So thank you for listening.